Soraya.
What's going on?
Hey, I wanted to ask you something.
Sure.
So, Record Store Day is coming up very soon. In fact, if things go as we plan, this episode will post the day before Record Store Day, which is Saturday, April 13th.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that you usually participate in?
As much as I can. What usually happens, my dumb luck, I'm usually working on Record Store Day. So I have to ask for the assistance of my friends to help me get some of these releases.
All right.
But I do like to participate as much as I can because I think a lot of the releases that we get are, they're just unique treasures. And I know you participate a lot in Record Store Day.
Yeah, so I'm a vinyl collector, so I always have fun at Record Store Day. There's not always stuff that I want, but I really like the event. I like being in line. You and I talk about music. I'm a total music nerd. I like talking about music. So a lot of times I'll go by myself and just end up chatting with people in line, and I just love the event.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's good. It's good times, and you always get something fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And
this year in particular, Jeff.
Yes.
What is the connection between Record Store Day and today's episode?
Well, there's actually two things that I wanted, and that's the Dream Syndicate Days of Wine and Roses reissue that we posted about. But to answer your question, today we're talking with Troy Howell, the drummer for Salvation Army, and Salvation Army has a live record that's coming out on Burger Records that will be released on April 13th.
Heck yes!
So, let's get started.
Sounds good.
All right, let's add Troy to the call.
Awesome.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Hello, Troy.
Hi. How are you?
We're doing great. So it's me and my co-host Soraya.
Hi.
So we wanted to do a little introduction.
All right.
So today on Paisley Stage, Raspberry and Rhymes, Soraya and I are talking to Troy Howell. So Troy was the drummer for Salvation Army, played with Eyes of Mind, was a percussionist with Double O Soul. But the reason why we wanted to talk to Troy today, among other reasons, was because Burger Records announced that Salvation Army will be releasing a live record on Record Store Day, which is Saturday, April 13th. And the record is a live record, live from Torrance. It's a vinyl-only release, limited to 650 copies. And so, in light of this release, we wanted to invite Troy to the show to talk about this. So, Troy, welcome to Paisley Stage, Raspberry and Rhyme.
Well, thank you so much, you guys.
Absolutely.
It was a big surprise with this release of the live. I didn't know anybody had a recording of that day. And it was a really, really beautiful day in the park. And it's really cool that somebody got it on audio.
It's fantastic, and real fans of Salvation Army. We're really looking forward to this and hoping we can get our grubby little hands on one of these 650 copies.
Yeah, I think I was talking with the owner of Fingerprints the other day, and he said it's going to be really hard to even get a copy of that LP.
Yeah. Troy, before we start talking about this new release, which a lot of people are really excited about, we wanted to jump back a little in time and get a little bit of history about Salvation Army. Now, from our understanding, the band started with Michael Curcio, then known as Ricky Start, at least according to the debut single, John Blazing on guitar, and you on drums. Can you give us a little information about how the band got started and the origin of the band, being named Salvation Army?
Well, I remember the name Salvation Army came about. I think it was Michael's idea with the Salvation Army, And John loved it because it had the word Army in it. And I just liked it, you know, I liked the way it sounded. And I was like, cool, sounds great. We started the band, and we were still seniors in high school. And actually, before we started the band, I was a fan of Michael Corcio. He's a great songwriter, even, you know, at 15 years old. He was in a band called Quinine, and I had him play my 16th birthday party, backyard birthday party. And they're really talented. They're really great. It was a three-piece as well. And Michael was just a great songwriter, even, you know, at that time. And Kurt Custard was their drummer, which just incredible drummer. He went on to play with Leonard Skinner, like in the 90s, and Steve Earle. I mean, he's a great drummer. So the band, even at 15, 16 years old, were just amazing. And they were kind of a mod. You know, they would do like Joe Jackson covers and original tunes, and you know, like the Who. You know, like they had a really great repertoire. But Michael, one day, he just shaved his head, showed up at school, told me that he quit the band. And I was like, what? And he was starting a new band. And, you know, at the time, Michael and I used to hang out. We would go to, we were going to gigs, you know, at the Starwood on a Tuesday night. And, you know, we were checking out bands like the Adolescents and Black Flag and, you know, TSOL. I mean, we were kind of going to those gigs, and that was kind of the big thing, you know, when we were in high school. And so, yeah, he shaved his head, and he's, you know, I was like, oh, wow, Mike went punk, you know. And he knew I wanted to play drums, and I really didn't. I didn't really play drums, but I had the ambition. I wanted to play drums, you know, just because like all the bands that we're checking out, they're like our age, you know. And I was like, man, I can do this. So I got a drum set, and they just asked me to come down and say, hey, Troy, play one of those Adolescents beats, you know. And that's basically how the band started. Wow. Johnny Blazing was friends with D. Boone from the Minutemen. And I think it was like the month after we graduated high school, Johnny Blazing said, hey, you know, I got a show set up at Dancing Waters, you know, play with the Minutemen and the Slivers. And that was one of our first gigs, Dancing Waters. I think there was maybe like 30 people there, you know. And yeah, and the thing was, you know, doing the demo tape, you know, we recorded the demo that summer out of high school. Great little recording studio here in Carson. And I mean, the fellow's name was Alan Kaufman. And he really made us sound good in the studio. He had a nice warm sound. And we recorded 4 songs. And I think Michael gave one of like a cassette to D. Boone one night at the Alpine Village, and D. Boone called us back like, "Hey, I want to put this on a 12-inch," you know, and we were stoked, and that really just opened the doors, you know, for myself and for the band. And of course, Rodney Binghamheimer, he was instrumental in playing it, and it was really cool to hear, you know, your song being played on the radio in 1980. You know, it was a big deal for us.
Wow, that is really cool.
Yeah.
So Troy, that demo that you're talking about, is that the demo that ended up being the single?
The Mind Gardens single.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Goes by, the memories will edge your mind. All that's left is the time that's spent living in a dream side, betrayed by say, if it's all that we could do, ask her in between time, between praying and dancing slowly. Ask if she knows where her mind goes, and ask if she knows where the garden grows, and ask if she knows where her mind goes.
Oh, okay.
So they wanted 2 songs, and we made the cover art there in Michael's bedroom.
Oh.
You know, I think I did the cover, and Johnny Blazing did the backside of it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was fun stuff.
So on the back of the single, it notes that you guys did that recording with Alan Kaufman on July 10th and 11th, 1981. You said there was 4 songs, so 2 ended up on the single, Mind Gardens and Happened. What were the other 2 songs?
The other one was a song called 4 Hours.
Oh, okay.
You're talking for hours, and talking for hours. You already know her name, the rest should be all the same, and it doesn't seem fair. I think of her most everywhere. If I made it through, if there wasn't despair.
And the other one was a song called Fight Songs.
Oh, okay. Right. That ends up on the compilation later on.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened to the rest of the songs. What compilation is that you're referring to?
The Before 3 O'Clock.
3 o'clock.
Oh, that is. I haven't listened to that in so long. I think you're right. Yeah, that was on the Before 3 O'Clock CD.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, I remember when Green Day first kind of hit. Like, several friends are like, "Man, you guys should sue Green Day. They're stealing your sound." But of course, it's not really the case. But it was kind of cool hearing the lead singer citing the 3 o'clock as one of his influences. So I guess we did have a little something to do with that, perhaps.
Absolutely, yeah.
Troy, I just want to follow up on the release of the singles. So the singles released on Mike Watt, D. Boone's label New Alliance, following only a few other releases, including the Minutemen's Joy 7-inch EP, the Descendants Fat 7-inch EP, and just before Husker Du's debut album Land Speed record. So
that's right.
Do you know how Salvation Army got signed to New Alliance for the release of the single? Do you have any recollection of that time?
No, it was, this is just like, just do-it-yourself records.
Mm-hmm.
And D. Boone was he just liked he just liked the songs, he liked the tunes, and they were looking to, start their own record label, do it yourself.
Perfect.
So we didn't really sign anything. We kind of just handed over the reel to reel.
Okay.
And let them, press it. I think they pressed maybe 500, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And either fortunately or unfortunately, I ended up buying one of the singles at Amoeba this is several years ago, but I saw it up on the wall and it was like in mint condition. I'm like, oh my God, I got to have my own record. And I think I bought it for like $40.
Yeah, they're not cheap and they're not easy to find.
Yeah,
that's a hard one to find now. If you have that, it's a good collector's item.
It is. So then next up, Troy, for the band was the full-length self-titled release, and that was, you had 10 songs on that one, and that got released on Lisa Fancher's Frontier Records label. And by this time, Michael was going back to his given name rather than Ricky Start. And John was out, and now you had Greg Gutierrez playing guitar. Can you tell us about the change in guitar playing, why that happened, and how that was for you as the drummer?
Well, Johnny Blazing, he wanted a more hardcore sound. And after the single was released, like I remember one night we were coming home from Hollywood, and he was telling me that he wanted to get a new singer, or like he wanted somebody who would not sing but scream. You know? I remember he cited somebody for example, but I remember telling Johnny, I'm like, man, we're going to be huge. Mike's great, but I guess he just wasn't feeling it. He wanted a more kind of rough sound. And I forgot how we hooked up with Greg. I know Greg was a friend of he was a friend of a friend. He was a skateboarder, and my friend Sam Horn knew Greg, and he would always talk about Greg. Greg, he's a guitar player, and he's a skater. He's got a big scar like underneath his eye from a punk rock show, getting hit with a bottle.
Wow.
Like, man, who is this guy? And I think when I first met Greg, he was playing in Youth Brigade.
Oh, okay.
And he was somewhat like a local guy. He lived here in Harbor City. And I really don't remember how we actually drug him over to the, to Mike's house for rehearsal. Because I remember at that time he was getting ready to join the Army. His best friend, Brian Swilly, was in the Army. And Greg was like ready to join the Army at that time. Or the Marines or something. But yeah, it was a big difference from styles and technique between Johnny Blazing and Greg Gutierrez. And Michael wanted to go with a more clean sound, and utilizing more open chords instead of like the bar chord. Okay. And yeah, we're just do it yourself guys. We can do this.
So that begs my next question, and that's the back album cover to the album notes that it was recorded on March 18th, 19th, and 21st of 1982 and produced by H.P. Lovecraft. So can you tell us what it was like recording this album, this do-it-yourself album, with this, new setup of players, and was it different than recording the single?
Yeah, it was much different. The single was, for me personally, it was a more comfortable environment. For me, the record was not really a great experience. I didn't have proper equipment. I was unprepared, and the guy who produced us, you can tell that he wasn't really into it, and that's why he didn't put his name on the album, because he just wanted no part of it. And yeah, he went on to like record like The Offspring, and he was like a big time producer. He just passed away a few years ago. His name was I don't remember his name right now, but he went on to like record a lot of bands for Epitaph Records. And like I said, I think Offspring, like he produced all that big Offspring stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He did the Adolescents, TSOL. She was big fans of those groups. He really loved TSOL.
But wasn't a fan of Salvation Army, it sounds like.
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, the album really didn't. The album could have been a lot better. I think it could have, with a little bit more guidance, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the album could have been much better. They should have taken. Well, I can't really blame anybody, but I think the producer should have spent a little bit more time with pre-production. It is what it is. We had 3 days. I think we had 1 day to track it. We did all the tracking in 1 day.
Wow.
And
So
I'm trying to think of that dude's name who produced us. And then, of course, Danny Benier was there in the studio, too. Great drummer, and here I could, barely scratch a beat, and I just saw everybody's, kind of expression while we were recording it, inside the booth. It was not good.
oh no. It is a great album though, I'll tell you that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like While We're in Your Room Talking to Your Wall.
It's really turns me on when the ride is in your hair. It seems to me so warm when the ride is in your hair. The red can take me there, but when I look in your hair, the red can show me where. But when I look at your hair, red's the illusion, red's the way that we were, red I see. And then red is gone.
That's a really great song, and I think, if I could go back in time and do it over, I would love to do that.
So even at the
But
time,
She Turns the Flowers it was another good track. That was
Yeah.
that one came out good.
Wondering why she's changing through time, she's changing so bravely. For she is an orange, for she is an open car, for she is the forest and she is no more. For she is the reason everything's gone too far. She is the flowers and she is no more. Open your eyes and see what's inside.
so even at the
And,
time, you appreciated those songs.
Oh yeah. I love that band. I love Michael's songwriting. I definitely had faith in Michael.
We had another question then, Troy. So the album was reissued in 1985 on Frontier, and the band's name had changed from Salvation Army to Before 3 O'Clock. At least that's how it was on the album. Can you tell us about the legal issue of why the band had to change their name and how you felt about the band having a new name?
I actually have the letter from the lawyers from Salvation Army
Oh, man.
telling us to cease and desist of the name. I have that in my archives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was given to us, but that was kind of like my latter days in the band.
Mm-hmm.
They after I left, they continued with the name Salvation Army at least for maybe 4 to 6 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Despite
I went to one of their shows. They're still billed as Salvation Army. They played the Sweetwater and Hermosa Beach, and I remember going down to that show. That was shortly after I had left the band. They sounded really good. That Baroque Hoedown album is really still holds up to the test of time, you know. Mm-hmm. And I'll still play that from time to time. It's a really great LP or EP.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was working on. I was playing the Marjorie Tells Me, and I think it was Cantaloupe Girlfriend, maybe. So, you know, I have a cassette of our very last show at the Café de Grand, or at the Club Lingerie. And I have those songs like on cassette stored somewhere.
With you playing with the band?
Yeah, right. And that, I think the Club Lingerie was my last show with the band.
Oh, okay.
I think we need to get into Troy's archives here.
Yeah.
You've got some golden stuff there.
Yes.
That Club Lingerie show, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I have that on cassette somewhere.
Well,
but you know, it was right after we, have you heard the story about like when all the bands went out to Catalina for the 4th of July?
Yes, we heard about that. Were you part of that?
Yeah, it was really cool. I just remember like everybody, we all slept on a baseball diamond, and because all the hotels were sold out. Well, we all went up to the campground and it was sold out. So everybody just started walking down the hill and ended up on this baseball diamond, and it had to have been at least maybe 25 to 30 of us.
Oh, wow.
The members of Dream Syndicate and the Bangles, the Things, and I don't know, just like a big entourage of everybody. And, they broke out the guitars, and it was a good time. It was really, really fun.
That's fantastic.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, all I was going to say is, I'm just trying to, in my mind, go back and imagine these band members, yourself included, in Catalina, and just music being played. And I wish I had one of those time machines to go back and witness it myself. Yeah,
right.
Total trip.
But yeah, so, you had within the group, you had people like, dropping acid,
Mm-hmm.
You had people like, gather around the circle singing and playing guitars. And just a host of interesting people.
These are the stories, Jeff, that we hear about, and we think about these bands as being seminal to a movement,
Yep, absolutely.
And it's just, it's just so interesting. Troy, in 1992, Frontier Records reissued an expanded version of the self-titled LP. So they released this expanded version on CD, and it included some demos, some alternate versions, and a few unreleased tracks, like what you mentioned before, 4 Hours, Fight Signs, and Cellophane Nirvana.
Centuries I tell
us about these unreleased tracks?
They were recorded in downtown Torrance. Michael had found the studio. I forgot the name of it. I think it was called Dynasty Studio. And I remember going in there, and the owner of the studio basically said to us that we should maybe go back and learn how to play the songs, and then come back and record them.
Oh no!
Oh whoa!
Yeah, yeah. It was it was pretty sloppy, And I remember like him telling me, "You don't have to bring your drums. I got drums set up," And it was just a very uncomfortable situation, for me personally, especially with him and that attitude and his crappy drums that I really didn't want to play.
Oh.
But we managed to get through. I think we did like maybe 4 or 5 songs. And what I remember most is the sound effects on Grimly Forming. John Irvine was in the studio, and I remember like we picked up these odd, cow noises, or these like little cups that you would turn over and it would make like a
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just remember that being kind of fun, that section of the song.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that because it's kind of trippy. It's almost Pink Floyd-ish. It gets kind of psychedelic, like it's sandwiched in this punky song, and in the middle you've got this trippy part. And then at the end of that part that you're talking about, Troy, there's this frantic tambourine playing. Is that you? That it just comes in like real quick and to bring it back.
I think that was Michael
on
the tambourine. If I remember correctly, that was Mike. And I love that part of the song.
Yeah.
It was just so trippy,
Did you guys ever play that song live? And did you have that part during the live?
Yeah. We played that song live, and sometimes some people would come up on stage, and because we had those little cups, and they would get into the microphone and make weird sounds,
Cool. So you weren't going out to the.
Oh, I think I played the kalimba.
Ooh.
Yeah, that African instrument. And I remember Mike was, "No, you just play, just do whatever, just do it." So I was like, "Yeah, cool. Let me give me that thing,"
Yeah. In addition to the animal noises, there's some cool percussion stuff going on. It sounds like multiple people playing percussion too.
Yeah, and I would have to listen to it again to kind of jog my memory. It's been a while since I've listened to those songs.
Yeah, we're talking about a release that's 35 years old?
Yeah.
38 years old?
Well, I know that recording that they're going to release, that was a good day for us. I remember we sounded good that day. the true test is listening back to it when I get my copy from Danny Veneer. But I remember, like, at the end of the set, I was really stoked, like, how we came across, how we performed. And I remember, like, the dudes from Red Cross, like, coming up, man, you guys killed it, So I was feeling pretty good. And we later on that evening, we had a gig at the Whiskey A Go Go. We were opening up for 45 Graves.
Ooh.
So I remember we're kind of peaking during that that park concert in the park. The band was, we were kind of, found our groove at that time.
Mm-hmm. For our listeners, especially, what's the tracks included on this live album, which, I'm getting more and more excited now and more anxious that I need my hands on one of these 650 pressings. But so the track.
Do you have any idea what? That was going to ask you. Do you have any idea what tracks are included in?
All right, so here we go.
This record.
Here we go. First track is "She Turns to Flowers." Mm-hmm. Number 2, "Upside Down."
Mm-hmm.
Track 3 is "Lucifer Sam."
Oh, wow, cool. All right.
4 is "Marjorie Tells Me." Track 5 is "With a Cantaloupe Girlfriend."
Mm-hmm.
Track 6 is "Feel a Whole Lot Better." Track 7.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, okay.
And then track 7 is "I Am Your Guru."
Mm-hmm.
And track 8, "Going Home."
Wow, that sounds like a pretty good set.
Yeah.
As I'm going through all the songs in my head, I'm like, oh my God, one is better than the other, but your reaction just said it all, Troy. Said it all. Oh, that sounds like a really good set.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really great. I'm looking forward to listening to it.
And the person who had the live recording, hats off to them, because they're giving us this real gem.
Yeah, I'm wondering what it was recorded on. How it was recorded.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's a soundboard recording or audience recording. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I don't know yet.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember a song called "Jennifer Only" when Napster was real big, and I was uploading stuff off Napster. That song was on Napster. This was a tune that I didn't even realize we had a recording of. And I was just like, how did this end up on Napster? But come to find out, Michael had a cassette that he gave to Danny Veneer, which he put on Napster.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And I think that was released on their, just recently they put out another recording, the 3 o'clock, a couple years ago. And they included that song on the disc, which I still don't have a copy of. But I want to get a copy of that. But that song was with Johnny Blazing, and that really captures like how we sounded with Johnny Blazing live. We recorded that live.
Wow, that's cool. So Troy, the show that at Wilson Park that took place on May 22nd, 1982. you mentioned Red Cross came up to you afterwards talking about your performance. Were there other acts that were on the bill for that day?
Well, we had a show later on. So after our set, we kind of we left shortly thereafter. But I remember the Minutemen, of course. The Minutemen were they were like our bros, Love D. Boone. I mean, just this guy was an amazing artist and really cool and smart. And I really kind of looked at him as a big brother. He's one of the first dudes who like really got me into like politics and just like thinking outside of the box, and a really, really great guy. But I remember the Minutemen, Red Cross was on the bill, and I believe Peer Group, maybe.
Oh,
maybe,
okay.
Lena's band was on the bill.
Oh, all right.
But no, I don't. I think that I'd seen a flyer on Facebook or whatever. They had the listing of the bands, but I couldn't tell you the other groups that were involved in the day.
So you guys had two shows that day. You had the Whiskey at Night then.
Right, and I think that's why we left a little bit early, cut out a little bit early. But it was a really great day in the park, and we went there. We were at Charles Wilson Park just last weekend. We go to the farmers market there on Saturdays, and I was telling my family, what about you guys contacting me, and hey, look right over there. See that amphitheater, that spot right? That's where we played.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Very cool.
That trips me out because one, hearing about the show, but also going back and reflecting on it. I think another day we're going to have you back on, Troy, to talk about Dancing Waters, because we've heard so many different stories about Dancing Waters and playing there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's a whole different topic for another time. I have a lot of questions about that place.
And the Alpine Village, that's where we all got our start. I threw the very first show there. My father knew the owners of Alpine Village, and my dad's the one who got me hooked up with Hans, the owner, and started letting us have shows there. $3 admission, and the first gig there, like I remember calling the other bands, like, hey, do you want to play? And the very first band, of course the Minutemen, Red Cross, I think Saccharin Trust, and I think it was maybe Youth Brigade.
Oh, wow.
Was part of that one of those first shows that I was able to put on there. But yeah, I pretty much booked, the early days of the Alpine Village.
Wow.
And that really blew up to a really cool scene, just in one summer or what have you.
That's super cool. That's really cool.
The last show there was the Dead Kennedys, and there was a full-on riot, and they just trashed the place, and that was the last gig they had. Hans said, "No more punk rock."
Oh no.
Yeah, the bathrooms were tore up, and somebody just demolished the toilet with, I don't know, like M80 or whatever.
Oh wow.
And it was wild. It was really wild, but a really great scene started out at the Alpine Village, and then that's right when the shortly after that is when the Dancing Waters kind of most of them start booking at the Dancing Waters after that. But Dancing Waters is a great venue. Huge dance floor, nice big stage. And of course the waterfall behind the stage is classic.
Nice. That would be great for YouTube videos nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
So Soraya, you know what I'm going to do when this album comes out? when
Okay.
Live from Torrance comes out, I'm going to put it on my iPod. I'm going to get my Bluetooth speaker. I'm going to go to Charles Wilson Park, and I'm going to blare it from that
All right.
amphitheater.
Give me a call because I think we'll just meet up there and we'll give Troy a call and we can just sit there, listen to it. Serious,
Right on.
I'm
Yeah.
not joking. We can listen to it and go through track by track, man.
I would do
I'm
that.
down.
Yeah, I'm down.
Very cool.
Perfect.
So, Troy,
You know?
Troy, it sounds like you're pretty excited about this album being released.
Yeah, I am. I think it's going to be another cool piece of archive for my collection.
Yeah.
And, you know, just for bragging rights, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm a vinyl collector, and a lot of my friends, this is the one release that's top of our wish list for this record store day is the Salvation Army. So, to your point earlier and what we were told from Fingerprints, I think it could be a little tough to get our hands on one of these 650 copies. Hopefully, you've got yours in the bag because you're the artist.
Yeah, I got right. Yeah, I got my response from Danny Benair, and he's like, "What's your address?"
Nice.
Right.
At least we know if we don't get one, we know Troy's got to come.
Yeah. So,
yeah, so you guys come on over. You know, I still DJ from time to time. You know, I'll put it on the wheels of steel. Give it a play.
Nice.
And what I think, and for a number of our listeners, this release is so important. One, because it really kind of captures this show that, in Troy's own words, band was on point that day, and it was a great show. But also something really interesting about it is that this is a regional record store day release.
That's right.
That's why we have this limited printing. So there are parts of the country. We have listeners, you know, in so many different places. You may not be able to find it at your participating states record store day retailers. So this is why it's so important. I think Jeff and I keep having these anxious moments of, okay, how are we going to get our hands on this? And for sure, but you know, it's
really.
Limited printing, regional record store day release. I mean, but so many people are really excited about this, and hearing you talk about it, I'm through the roof at this point. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Okay.
Have you guys reached out to either Mike or Greg or even Johnny Blazing?
No, not yet. You were the first one that came to our mind, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
And I mean, Greg, Lewis, Michael, and John, they're all on our list too. So
Yes.
hopefully we'll be able to follow up with them and talk about it, you know, now that it'll be released very, very soon. And,
yeah, we almost tried to get the band back together. It's been a while now. I think maybe about 10 years ago. Michael and I were getting together and having rehearsals with Johnny Blazing.
Uh-huh.
But it was just kind of didn't really come together, you know, come together the way we were hoping it would.
Mm.
And so we kind of put one foot in the door and we're like, that's okay. Let's just leave the past in the past, you know?
I actually think I remember Lena talking about this, and it sounded, if I'm not mistaken, that her opinion was quite different than how you remember it. She thought it was pretty awesome, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well, we did play one of her parties. I remember Johnny Blazing calling me, and she's like, hey, let's go to Lena's party and we'll jam, you know? And so we had a little bit of rehearsal before then. And we played a few songs, with Johnny Blazing rocking it.
So cool. So
Oh
cool.
my gosh.
Yeah, he's a great guitar player and great guy.
All right, Troy. We wanted to ask you this question, and you've referred to it a little, but we wanted to ask about what led up to you leaving Salvation Army.
It wasn't my choice, put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd come back from Catalina, and you know, they had been talking with Danny before then, and Lisa Francher, you know, kind of really, I think, in my opinion, I couldn't say for sure, but she wanted to move Danny into the band, you know, and you know, he's a great drummer, you know, and you know, one of the last things that they said to me, like when I showed up for rehearsal and they gave me the boot, was like, hey, well, the Beatles got rid of Peter Best right before they got real big.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of like, right? And that's all I needed to hear, just to say, I think my words were thanks for the memories.
Yeah.
And I got my stuff and I left.
Yeah.
Wow.
That doesn't sound too comforting to me, but I get it.
Right. You know,
But
it happens, you know.
So that-
Well, I started Eyes of Mine shortly after that. And
Mhm.
it's all good.
yeah, so two things I wanted to talk about. One was that makes this release, in my mind, all that more special, is because this is a document of when you were in the band, and it sounds like, from what you've told us tonight, that the band was at their peak. So, as Soraya has mentioned, I'm so much more excited for this release now, knowing what you've told us today, and it's that much more special.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks for sharing that.
Well, thank you. I think if Mike and Greg would have had a little patience with me, I think we could have been really phenomenal band, a really great band. You know, in the long run.
Mhm.
You know, maybe not, you know, that year or the next year, but I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm totally blessed, and I'm stoked about the recording, you know, coming out, and just happy everybody's going to really, I think everybody's going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we were peaking, and it was a good time. We sounded good, and well, after I listen to it, I'll judge it again. But
Yeah.
from what I remember,
Right.
Yeah.
it was a good performance for us.
Very cool. Troy, can you tell us a little bit about Eyes of Mind? So the band put out a pretty lengthy EP, almost like a mini LP on the Vox label. I love that record, by the way. Can you tell us a little bit about Eyes of Mind before we let you go?
Sure. Well, you know, it was re-released on Closer with Closer Records in France with additional 4 songs.
Ooh.
And that was those 4 songs were produced by Brent Gurewitz from Bad Religion. The band Eyes of Mine was actually Rick and Jamie's band at that time. And Rick was a big Salvation Army fan, and he approached me with a cassette of their demo, maybe a 3 or 4 song demo. And I was friends with Mark Coleman, so I passed this cassette to Mark Coleman, and he played some keyboards on top of it with a Farfisa, and it sounded really, really cool.
Careless
we just, I had a recording, a practice space, that we just get together and play. We practice three nights out of the week. And, the recording, Greg Shaw, put us in the studio and with a great producer, Mark Wirtz. And, that record came out pretty good. It's a little light, a little light sounding, but it kind of captured the essence of the band, That Forfisic organ that Mark used was really, really cool. And Jamie's a great songwriter, singer and songwriter as well. Still is. He recording to this day. Recording some really amazing songs.
Yeah, he's great. He's got a great voice too.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, we just riding that wave of the Paisley Underground. We just kept it going. And we would do shows with like the Things and the Pandoras, Rain Parade. So we're in the mix, playing, and Ronnie Bingham-Heimer used to play us on his show too, which was nice. And for me, it was just like picking up where I left off, with the Eyes of Mine.
Yeah, it seems like it would flow naturally from one to the other.
Yeah, our first gig was at the Concert Factory with the 3 o'clock.
Oh.
That was our very first show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the Mod Beats.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, I think I broke up around mid-'80s, Drugs had a huge part of that. I went in, after Eyes of Mine, I started the band with, actually I joined the group. We were called White Boy. And Patrick Bostrom from, what band is he? He's in a band right now. They're really big. Shoot, and I forgot the name of that group. But, I've always played in local scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and, that's the best part of playing music is when, you're building community and, you're sharing, bills and you're hanging out with, at house parties or whatever, the scene is where it's happening.
Yeah, so the Paisley Underground is really our focus on our podcast, and that's exactly why we appreciate the scene for exactly what you just said. The community, the closeness, the camaraderie, all these bands working together that you guys, y'all went to Catalina together and were jamming on a baseball field, right? So.
Yeah, right, yeah. And I know the guys from Green on Red, they had like a house where they all, would get together and, hang out.
Very, very cool.
So, yeah, all about community, man. What's happening, that's where it's at, man.
Excellent.
Much different than nowadays.
Yeah. Which is why we're talking about a scene from 35 years ago. Right? And we're still passionate about it. We're still passionate about it. So.
That's awesome, man.
All right, Troy. Well, we didn't want to take too much more of your time, but we really appreciate you sharing your stories. I've learned a lot. I had 3 pages of notes, and the reverse side of each page is filled now with information that you've given to me. So we really wanted to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your memories about it.
You're welcome.
And I can't wait for the time when we're at Charles Wilson Park listening to this with you.
There you go.
Hey, that sounds like a good afternoon to me.
All right, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that.
And they have a great farmers market on every Saturday, so we can hit up both.
We're gonna do it.
We can get some potato rings or some some popcorn and listen to the tracks.
Yes, we're doing this.
I'm down for that. So.
Very cool.
Well, right on. Well, you guys have a great evening, and it was nice talking to you.
You as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
You're
Troy.
welcome. All right, you guys. Take care now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Soraya.
Just give me a moment. Troy Howell's one cool dude.
He totally is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this Catalina trip, I think we need like one show just dedicated to that.
Yes.
But look, here are some of the common threads in a lot of the bands that we've talked to. So the Recycler, that's one of the common threads. All right.
Yep.
Another one is all this. Well, the Catalina trip, right, and then like these barbecues. But the other thing that just struck me was how this scene really took off thanks to, he kept stressing the importance of the community scene, like the scene itself, this local scene being this community that really kind of moved everybody along. I can't stress enough how vital D. Boone and Mike Watt were to a lot of these local scenes and for these bands.
Yeah.
I'm now I want a show dedicated to D. Boone, because what Troy said is what Lena Litonwa has said, what other people have said, and even Michael Curcio told us.
And Annette.
And Annette too, about D. Boone really being this guy that liked good music and wanted to support it and move it forward.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously the other bigger connector between all these bands is Rodney.
Rodney, yep. I was thinking the same thing.
Rodney's show broke so many of these bands and put them into a bigger conversation. And it stopped being this very small local scene, and it really kind of, because everybody knew Rodney's show, and you still see the appreciation for him. And everything Troy said just kind of reiterated that.
Exactly.
Everything he said. Wow. And then the other little tidbit that I'm finding a connector to, and I think it's just because I'm thinking about Annette, people going, yeah, I didn't know that instrument when I started playing. He was so cool about it all. Yeah. Okay, I'll just bang on this. Why not?
Yeah.
And when I think about that, when I think about that Salvation Army LP, or when I think about that single, I'm hearing a punk drum, I would never have questioned it.
Nope.
And he tells me this great story, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts, Jeff? Thoughts?
Yeah, so I was really excited to get to talk to Troy, and he far exceeded even how excited I was. So you're probably the same way. I came to Salvation Army after learning about the 3 o'clock. So I learned about the 3 o'clock, broke Hoedown. 16 Tambourines wasn't out yet. Then I went back and got the Salvation Army record. And that entire record, I loved the energy of it. So I've, known Troy as a musician, as this drummer of this record that I've listened to for a long time. And it was just great to hear the stories that he had about it. And another thing I thought was really interesting, in addition to your thoughts, the things that you've mentioned, is Michael being a great songwriter at 15 in this band Quinine that he was talking about.
Okay, we need to have Michael back on and talk more about that. Because what I loved was, and I had to write it down, it was, yeah, so Michael's in this band Quinine, and I invite Quinine to play my 16th birthday party. And I was a real fan of Michael Curcio because he was a good songwriter. And then he goes on, they were a mod band. He goes, and then Michael shows up at school, shaved head. And I said to myself, oh, whoa, Mike went punk.
That's great.
But see, like, even as a young kid, Michael is really musically savvy, and he knew what sounded good to him, and wanted to play it.
Yep. And
can you imagine a 14, 15? You don't even know which way is up.
Mm-mm.
And Curcio's songwriting, and in a band, and and then he goes, on to like open for 45 Grave.
Yes.
I mean, the trajectory is just insane. Troy gave us so much information. So much.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now I need to get my hands on this.
Yes.
And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure out a way.
And I'm not joking about this Charles Wilson Park event. We're totally going to do this.
No, this is happening. We're going to figure this out. And trust me, I don't think we're going to be the only ones wanting to sit down and listen to this all the way through.
Yeah. We're going to have
that phase.
We're going to have to invite a couple of our friends to join us.
I think so, man.
Very cool. All right. Well, we better call it.
Dude, gente, agrubiar.
Groove on, Paisley people.
Later.